Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Dunnery Astrology. Hope you're all doing great out there. Today we're going to be doing Saturn in Virgo. Very interesting placement for Saturn to be in. I would say you could generally find your average Virgo in some sort of organizing capacity or cleaning up, refining stuff. Virgos like to make things better. So that kind of Virgo energy of service, they're service-oriented people. They just want to make things run smoother. That's kind of their natural their natural job or vocation in the natural world. They're the animals, so to speak, or that's the energy that cleans things up, that makes things work better. Without Virgos, you wouldn't have a clean or anything running smoothly. So that energy runs perfectly well just by itself. It's like kind of self-regulated. Virgos don't need a boss to tell them what to do or anything like that. They have a way of going about their world that they just, they clean up, they refine, they fix, they ensure that the organization is taking place. Basically, they have this like big jigsaw. I call it the Virgo jigsaw. They're constantly, and then a piece falls out and then they put another piece in, and they're doing the big jigsaw all the time, the big Virgo jigsaw. But when you put Saturn in there, it's not done out of a kind of, it's not like a celebration of making things right. It becomes a fear of not having things organized. It's a fear of chaos. And so the chaotic world that is there for all of us to see, we live in a chaotic world, for the most part, but, in a human sense, nature's chaotic. Obviously, in the bigger picture, it's not, because in the bigger picture, it's perfect. But for humans, nature might seem chaotic, from hurricanes to, tsunamis and, earthquakes and things like that. We think that's chaotic, but it's just, it's a natural phenomena that's not chaotic at all. The Earth is highly equipped to deal with something like that. It's been around for billions of years, and so any of those things that happen to it are just natural. But we perceive them as chaotic. And so, and then on top of that, you put society in that. And now all of a sudden, you've got this chaotic world that Virgo is faced with bringing order to. And so, when you put Saturn in there, there's a terrible fear that you're not going to be able to clean it up. Saturn in Virgo is notorious for being overcritical about themselves and about everything. And it manifests in all sorts of ways. It manifests, one of the biggest things about Saturn in Virgo is they become hypochondriacs, very afraid of these unknown elements of life, germs, or, bacteria and, these tiny things that they can't see, well, what happens if I catch a cold? What happens if I catch the germs? What happens? Saturn in Virgo suffers from terrible anxiety because they're constantly trying to be perfect. And they become terrified of, picking up any sort of germs or anything like that. But in a bigger sense, we need germs. You only have to look at a movie like, War of the Worlds. That was a good concept to see that, like, we've lived here for so long, we've picked up 1 billion germs, and we're totally fine with them. Our body takes care of it perfectly, and we need them in order to build our immune system. But Saturn in Virgo is terrified of them. It could be free radicals, like any of the stuff, like any of the unknown hidden stuff that you can't see, that you can't get your hands on to fix. Virgo becomes paranoid about that. Saturn in Virgo can't adapt to change. They always have to stick with what's tried and proven and tested. So they become frightened of animals because, you put somebody with Saturn in Virgo on top of a horse, the horse has its own mind about doing things. It would be terrifying for Saturn in Virgo to even deal with that. So they don't like to be put into any circumstance where they would rather be in an incredibly fast speeding race car than be on top of a horse, because it's terrifying to be on top of the horse, because the horse at any point could go that way or that way. And so Saturn in Virgo becomes this deep fear of the unknown, and they're haunted by it. It's a private, it's almost like a private fear, a private world that they're trapped in, and they have, because the world is like that. We can't get out of it. There are unknown elements to life. It isn't like you can just decide not to live in the unchaotic world. Everything threatens that. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You worry about your health. I'm sick. I'm going to be sick, and then you get sick, and then you prove it to you. Say, "See, I got sick." This is classic hypochondriac Saturn in Virgo. Another one is like being a slave to something, like doing a job, some horrible job that you just don't want to do, and you have to do it. Like this kind of Saturn in Virgo. I have to go and do this job, otherwise I won't be able to blah blah. And if I don't get any money, I won't be able to. So Saturn in Virgo just tends to get on this treadmill of these jobs or that they can't stand, but it's like they're almost like a slave to people. They have to serve, they have to serve people they don't really want to do, or they have to serve a corporation. They go to work every day and they work in this corporation that they can't stand, and they have to adhere to all these rules every single day. Nobody gets stuck in a rut more than Saturn in Virgo. And they can't leave because, they won't have any money. One of the problems with Saturn in Virgo is it puts its own needs last. So these kind of things with Saturn in Virgo, it terrifies the life out of the person with Saturn in Virgo. But here's the thing, is once you start to understand, if you've got Saturn in Virgo or Saturn in the 6th house, once you start to understand that your idea of order, which is what Saturn in Virgo will look for, this concept of order. This is now order. If we plant a garden, right, we do bush, 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 tree, 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 flower, 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 bush, 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 tree, tree, tree. And we go, it's all in order. The fear of imperfection. You have to understand the forest is ordered. The forest itself, it might look chaotic to you, but it has its own sense of order. And to understand that there's a bigger picture going on, and that's what Saturn in Virgo needs to understand, the bigger picture. There's a much wider framework here going on. There's a bigger umbrella that you're operating under. And trying to control the minutiae of life is a really, really, I definitely would not recommend that for Saturn in Virgo people. Instead, to get into the bigger picture and understand that even though you might think you don't know what you're doing, something in you does. And you put your trust in that. Something in you knows what's going on. Something in you is connected to nature and connected to the forest that knows what's going on. The forest doesn't have a problem with the way it is. There's a sense of order within that, what you might think is chaotic. And the minute you start to understand and open up to the bigger picture, open up to that, then it becomes your best friend, and you can start to live happily ever after in the giant, understanding the greater sense of order that you're living within. So that's it for today. That's Saturn in Virgo. I hope you've enjoyed that little chat. I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Don't forget, go to francisdunneryastro.com. I've got a whole bunch of stuff on there you can check out. I've got my monthly horoscopes and all that stuff. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe. Press the subscribe button. It helps me a great deal. And I will look forward to seeing you with our next chapter of our journey into Saturn in the signs and in the houses. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.